This is Jessica.
And this is Kelly. And this is the Chasing Brighter
podcast.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're focusing this month, the month of January, on Happy and Healthy 2023. And I was fortunate enough to convince my friend / personal trainer / dietitian, Jenny Maloney, to join us today and to bestow upon us a lot of her wisdom, especially about clean eating. Jenny, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you become a dietitian?
So I've been a dietitian for over 20 years. I basically went to school. I played college tennis at Bowling Green State University.
Cool. Yeah.
In Ohio, not the one in Kentucky. And I remember like my senior year of high school. I mean, we're going way back now. You wanted the history, right? So
yes.
My senior year of high school, I was always into sports, and I was like, let me start eating healthy, because I heard like eating healthy could maybe make me better at my sport. So I started I remember I would go home for lunch instead of go out, and I'd make myself this was in the 90s. We didn't really know what healthy was. We were eating everything fat free. Do you guys remember everything was fat free in the late 90s? And so I was kind of eating healthy, or at least I thought it was. And then when I got to college, I somehow thought that eating no fat was what you were supposed to do. So I was eating no meat. I was eating ketchup and baked potatoes. I remember.
And lots of Twizzlers. Weren't those fat-free?
Candy bagels.
Yes.
The bagels were fat-free. So
I say jelly beans at a point.
Yeah. Right. How was that healthy? Yeah. What were we telling ourselves that? And then I remember getting the fat-free salad dressing, and I would go to the dorm or the cafeteria and get a salad with no meat and put fat-free dressing on it. Anyway, the bottom line was I didn't play very good tennis that year because I wasn't eating right. And I stopped getting my period. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And I remember actually later on, my college tennis teammates told me they thought I was coming to practice high. And that's why I was not playing well, because I was so out of it, I guess.
Out of it? That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I quickly realized that I was doing it wrong. And I actually went and got to the doctor. They put me on progesterone. And that was my little meet up with I'm doing something wrong. But I was but I want to know what I'm doing wrong and why, and I want to learn more about it. And I had to pick a major. So I was dietetics sounds easy. I was food guide pyramid, vitamin A, vitamin D, how hard could it be, right? So it was really hard. And I ended up I was taking biochemistry and physics and all these crazy clinical nutrition. But I got through, but I definitely didn't know what I was getting into. But anyway, that's how I started with the undergrad of that. And then after I graduated, I don't know about you guys, when I went to college, I basically memorized everything, but I don't really I would love to go back to college and do those classes again. But I really wasn't, a lot of it didn't click. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. So I actually went to Leo Burnett's advertising agencies and worked for their fitness center.
I remember this is what we talked about the other day.
Yeah, because I ran into somebody that I used to know. And I learned how to be a trainer, basically. I learned how to do orientations and fitness assessments. And I got my trainer degrees. And I was I don't want to just do this. I want to do nutrition. And so I went back to school. And so to be a registered dietitian, you have to have an undergrad in some sort of dietetics, food and nutrition, food science. And then you have to do an internship. And a lot of them now have masters attached to them. But when I was doing it, you could do a 2-year internship where you do a bunch of credits. It's almost like you're working towards your master's. You go through an accredited university. It's all through the American Dietetic Association. And then at the end, you do rotations, and then you take a test through the American Dietetic Association. You pass that, then you're a registered dietitian. Whereas a lot of people will call themselves nutritionists, but it's not the same thing. So dietitians can be nutritionists, but nutritionists not necessarily can't be dietitians. So it varies.
Do you need a degree to be a nutritionist?
So you need a degree to be a registered dietitian.
Right. But
so to be a nutritionist, that's where it gets confusing, because the nutritionist could literally get their degree on the internet in 2 days. I mean, my husband likes to joke when the Groupon pops up, he's I could be a nutritionist too, and I'm doing what you're doing, but because you could do a 2-day thing and call yourself nutritionist.
Because it's like
and
a
honestly,
certification.
Most people don't know the difference.
Right. Nutritionist
Whereas
is certification. So Joe Schmo could go to YouTube University, pay $50 and say they're a nutritionist. But with a dietitian, that's a board, right? Are you under a state board then?
Exactly. And I can, I have to be, the state, and then I can go and work in a hospital. There's definitely like more things that dietitians can only do that, like, you know, in hospitals and like sanitation and stuff like that. But in a gym where I'm at Midtown Athletic Club, it's a free for all. Like nobody really knows the difference. So I've been doing it there for 16 years, but there's a lot of trainers that are doing it as well, which trainers should definitely give nutrition guidelines, but there's a time to refer out when it becomes more like they have a history of allergies, Crohn's disease, heart disease, things that might be a little more specific. And so it's good to have the RD. I think I'm so glad I got it. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm glad I have it now because I think it's making me more well-versed. I worked in a hospital for many years too. So now someone comes in at Midtown that looks like they don't have any health issues, but then now starts to talk about all their issues. I can be like, okay, I already saw that. I know the labs for that, all that stuff. So I'm glad I have it. I think it's an important background to have.
Yeah.
What was the question? No,
that's perfect. Yeah. So then talk to us a little bit more about clean eating, like in terms of like you really taught me so much about it. And I'm so grateful for that because it changed my lifestyle. And I mean, I still to this day just eat clean. It just made me think about my body, how I feel and all that. But the idea of quote unquote clean eating, like how did you get into that?
Well, so I've kind of rolled with the changes, right? There's been a lot of changes. Although when you really think about it, it kind of goes back to the basics and a little bit more old school. It's like, just eat real whole food. Like, why is everybody trying to cut out major food groups, not eat fast and skip and avoid? And so, but there's been a lot of different fads and I've done different types of programs, but it's all kind of come back to like just eating real whole foods, balance, eat everything, but don't eat everything all the time. I mean, balance it out. But people want quick, fast, and they want it now. So they want to like eliminate major food groups. They want to starve themselves. They want to do something extreme, which works, but then it never stays and it's not long-term. So the whole concept of clean eating, I do this program called 30 Days of Clean Eating. I started it at Midtown and it's really just, let's talk about real nutrition, long-term lifestyle changes, change your mindset, set healthy habits. And we do it for 30 days and beyond. So I'm giving you tools for life, not for just 30 days. Kind of like how the whole 30 is just 30 days, but then what do you do, right? So I want it to be where it's like a kickstart to a healthy lifestyle. And clean eating to me means, because there are many different definitions, it just means real whole food. So things that are closest to the ground. And then if you're going to have packaged foods, what's in the ingredients? Can we do as little as possible? Can you understand what you're having? Is it food? Because when you start to look at some of the labels, the ingredient labels I look more ingredient labels than nutrition labels. You'll see like there's a lot of things that you don't recognize, gums and maltodextrin and soy everything. And it's just not real food. So I try to get it back to like the basics of just eating as much real as you can. Obviously, you don't have to make everything from scratch. That would be really hard to do. But if you are going to have packaged foods, what's in it? And can we eliminate all the processed stuff?
I read something a long time ago and it was kind of like, can anybody in history look at your plate and identify what you're eating? And I love that, right? Like, is what you're eating identifiable?
Right. Like if it's this weird powder with a bunch of stuff in it. Yeah. Well, and I say if there's ever a color and a number in the ingredients, you don't want it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even though who knows what we're giving our kids, but yeah, I think definitely it kind of goes back to like just survival, right? And like real food and surviving a real food. Things have changed. Obviously now we're eating for enjoyment too, but
So you've done this class for many years, you said, right? What do you think, what have you found kind of are some of the biggest challenges
I kind of changed the name of it, but yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges of, especially
Of the
like your
class or just
first time clients coming in, like this is blowing their mind, this idea or whatever? What do you think are some of the challenges or things that they have to kind of like get their head around?
I mean, I think it goes both ways. Some people come in and they're like, they think they know, or they're like, I'm already doing this, and I'm like, we start to look at them like, are you doing consistently though? Like a lot of people will do things here and there, but then they'll do a week of some, a week of just not paying attention, or Friday through Sunday. It's like, oh, I was supposed to be clean those days too. Like you wanted my food log on those days. So I think that's a big challenge, is the consistency and then making it a lifestyle, like a long-term lifestyle. But I think also people come in with already the diets that they've already followed. So they come in and they're scared of carbs because they did the keto, or they've been, if you open up your phone or you read anything, there's extreme diets everywhere. So you don't know what is what, but they've already come in with like their thoughts or their diets they've been on and wondering why I'm kind of giving them something different. And I'm usually pretty open. Like if someone comes in and they're like, I've been doing the keto, or I've been doing vegan, or I've been intermittent fasting. Okay, let's modify it so that it's realistic. Like if you like to eat more protein and fat, let's figure out how we can get carbs in. But I want the minimum to be this, so I kind of coach them through. But there's been a lot of like coaching people to eat carbs again, which is crazy, right? Because we were eating just carbs in the 90s, right? So things have like flipped. But remember that slide that I show in the clean eating class where it talks about the different, like back in the 70s, there was obesity, and what started with now, like being that we blame it on sugar. Then before it was fat. And then before it was just portions. And now it's like, it's all of it. You're just eating too much. It doesn't matter. Like you can eat carbs, but how much are you eating of them? That's the problem. Is I think no one can sit down and have a half a cup of pasta, right? It's hard to do. So you have to kind of balance that out.
I think for one of the things that I've told people who just get married, to your point, even about portion control, is like, if you are sharing a meal with your husband or spouse, well, if it's a guy, like you don't serve yourself the same amount as them.
Most
that
likely,
was a
right.
big change for me, because I feel like that's a lot of my challenges now is like just portion control.
Right. But sizing, right. Your spouse, Kelly, is like 6'4".
Tall. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are spouses that are.
Okay, fair enough. If you're
right?
with somebody who
you and your spouse are tiny little people, or if you and your spouse are 6'4", it'd be different, But your spouse is much taller, but bigger than you.
Usually males have more muscle too, so they can burn more. But you're right. There is something, I think Precision Nutrition does this one where like it tells you like the size of your hand. So a fist of food is this is your cup, but then their serving size, like maybe it's a male that's bigger, that's their serving size. So, or their palm of their hand is their chicken that they should have, whereas like your chicken is your palm of hand. So, but generally speaking, I mean, we're just eating too big of portions, period. I mean, when you go out to eat, it's the portions are ginormous, and we have no concept of what's the right portion anymore.
Even if you get a salad, right? It's like a huge salad.
What are like health benefits for people of cleaning up their eating? I know you talked about in college, right? If you're not fueling yourself appropriately, then you don't have the energy to get through the day, right? Or like I'm assuming when people are thinking you're high, there's like brain fog, forgetfulness, right? If you're not nourishing your body in the best way. So what are benefits for people who maybe are skeptical, right? I've been eating cheeseburgers at McDonald's for lunch for 20 years. What are you talking about, Jenny? Like what are some benefits to trying to eat more naturally or
I
with
think
more whole foods?
On your point about that too, is that I tend to see a lot of people that don't eat enough. They're like, well, why am I not losing weight? I'm barely eating anything. And I'm actually giving them more food, but it's because they're either not eating enough and they're in that starvation mode where their metabolism has completely shut down because they're not eating enough, or they're eating all their calories after 7 o'clock when they're sitting on are you eating enough and are you eating enough nutrients? And I do see a lot of actually adults and kids that aren't eating enough, and not fueling. And of course, when I talk to kids, I'm like, do you want to be better at your sport? Then you got to eat more. But I do have to coach people through kind of like trying to eat a little more, and their body their weight might go up for a little while, but it'll find its balance again. But it's just your body being like, thank you for feeding me. But the benefits are nutrients. Like I'm like, you need nutrients. Like that's how I try to tell people. It's like, just think about what this food's going to do for you and your body. Preventing disease, obviously, giving you the fuel that you need to do whatever you need to do. Maybe it's go to the gym and work out. Maybe you're lifting weights, but you're not going to build any muscle if you're not eating enough. That's a big one too. And we have this fun scale at Midtown. It's the brand is InBody, but it's one of those scales that tells your body fat, your muscle mass, and tells you like, as you get on it every like few weeks, it'll tell you where you're heading. And a lot of people will lose weight, but they'll lose muscle and their fat will stay the same. Or you want to gain muscle, lose body fat. So your weight doesn't even really matter that much when you're looking at this machine. So I think too, that's a whole nother subject, is body image and just being too hard on yourself and setting these unrealistic goals. And like we said, genetics plays a big role in everything. So when someone comes in, they're like, I want to look like this. And I'm like, well, let's be realistic. It's, you're probably never going to look like that because that's genetically not possible. Or, you kind of set their goal is a little more realistic, which is probably, I do end up doing a little bit of therapy, right? Because people come in with, it's a very emotional thing, is weight and what you're eating. And it becomes like almost like a therapy session, right? So,
well, it's also like, yeah, because in some ways you're vulnerable when you're sharing with you what you're eating. Like it's one of those where it's kind of like afraid to show what I'm eating, right? And sometimes it's not good, but I'm being honest. But it's like, don't beat me up, like that. Like people are afraid, and it's almost like in some ways growing just by overcoming that, by owning what you're eating in some way.
Oh yeah, just being able to like be aware too, right? But oh yeah, for sure. I have people that walk by me and they're like, I didn't eat well. Don't look at me or something. Like they're giving me their food log when they walk by me. I'm like, you don't have to like report your food log every time you see me, but yeah, I think it's definitely like the benefits are going to be like energy and fueling. And I think people don't realize how much better you feel when you eat better. I think if you're so used to eating poorly, you get used to that feeling. But when you start to eat better, you really feel the difference. I mean, like you are what you eat. Like I really believe that.
Yeah. So like there's the Christmas holiday, right? So like, you're kind of maybe not eating there are opportunities to not eat as well. Are you with family? There's sweets, there's all that stuff, right? And you come back in January, a lot of people start to clean it up, especially when you're home and you're not, we're not going out to dinner or whatever. Like it's easy to eat in some ways when we're home and we're grocery shopping and doing that. It's challenging when people are really busy, right? So what advice do you have for those people who are, working all the time, they get home, they're really tired and they got to like throw something together really quick? Or how do they overcome that challenge in terms of really making different choices?
I mean, I do like always say like, if we need to get a prepared meal delivery option, like that's
okay.
Not cheating. It's not lazy. It's a better option than ordering out all the time, right? Or trying to say you're going to make something. This happened many times where they're like, I can do your meal plan. I got this. And then like, I taught them in a month and it's like, I haven't started and I've been too busy and this and that. So if there's anything that you can do to help you, like a service, I mean, you end up spending the money, honestly, anyway, it seems like. So any meal prep. So if you can set aside a few hours on Monday or whatever day works for you with your work shift, and just make something for the week, or at least for 3 or 4 days, whatever prep you could do. Even like if I know I'm gonna make a salad, I try to get everything like ready to go, almost like chop some things up, put them in the right containers, get my container that I'm going to put it in, like just extra steps that I can do. I make guacamole almost every day. And I get the cilantro, the onions, I get all that ready. And then right when I'm about to like bring it to work, I cut up the avocado and mash it in there. But like, because I don't want to be doing cilantro and onions every morning, right? So, so whatever prep you can do ahead of time, because you can't. It's 7:30 at night when you're starving. You're not gonna make anything. So any prep, and then just simple. You can keep it simple, really. It doesn't have to be like this amazing meal with 25 ingredients. I mean, you can do 5 ingredients and it still can be good. Or you just, you can't have too high expectations every evening. It's not like you can dine out and have this fancy meal every night. But I do think the biggest obstacle is alcohol. Should we talk about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like, I feel like sometimes my clean eating class is an AA meeting, right? So it's like, you can't drink a bottle of wine every night and lose weight or whatever your goal is, right? So, and it's not even that it's just extra calories, because we know that is part of it, but it's all the negative things that go with it. Just making you not sleep well. It makes you want to have bad eating choices. It's not good. It goes straight to your liver and is metabolized as a fat. So if you don't burn that alcohol, you're going to store it as fat. And it's probably going to be stored right in the belly area where all your organs are, because that's where everything moves and functions. So, so I try to tell people to cut back on that. You don't have to cut it out, but you definitely want to space it out, and you want to have less at a time. Because really, it's calories per day. It's what you intake per day. And if you're having like 5 drinks every night, as opposed to maybe 1 or 2 a few days a week, that makes a difference, obviously, not just calories, but on your heart and your liver and just overall health. So I feel like that's a big obstacle for people that I'm always trying to bargain with them. Like, okay, what goals can we set with alcohol? Maybe we could have something different for social gatherings. Like, I know there's a lot of non-alcoholic drinks, but I feel like that's not.
I don't know. Yeah.
That doesn't work. More edibles. I don't know.
I definitely am noticing, well, even just when I was out in Vegas with my sister, we went to California Pizza Kitchen for lunch, and I ordered this, because they also have the calories on all the drinks.
Yeah.
Too. They had like a cucumber cooler thing that was really good. And it was really pretty low calorie.
Low calorie. Yeah.
So then I was, even for myself, thinking like, and nobody else, I don't even think Mom ordered a beer, Jess.
Nobody drank.
Yeah. So it was only me with my frou-frou drink, and it wasn't an alcoholic beverage, but I'm trying to almost like think to myself, like, why do I need an alcoholic beverage sometimes? Like, what if I saw where you can take just a sparkling beverage and put even some bitters in it, just to kind of like spice up different ways if you want something. Cause we keep like sparkling water in the house, which is sort of a nice drink. I don't know. Part of it's like feeling like I want something different with my meal.
I think it's like the last socially acceptable drug. And my friend and I had a big talk about it. She has, she's been going to Al-Anon meetings, which is for, when you have friends or family, someone you know who's an alcoholic, you can go there for support. And we were talking about it because it's like socially acceptable in the States to binge drink in your 20s. And then you turn 30 and it's not cute. And so she was just talking about like, right? I mean, but it's like, talking about like nephews or whatever. And it was just like, you're supposed to just all of a sudden kind of have it together, but it's like okay and funny if someone drinks all the time in their 20s. And then how her and I were talking about it's weird if we go out with our girlfriends or something and you don't get a drink and nobody says anything. I have super supportive friends, like, but it's weird if you're like, no thanks, I'm not drinking, and you feel like a weirdo. And it's like alcohol is everywhere, and it's it's just very interesting. I haven't done a lot of research on it. I would like to maybe understand more the social key to that. I know for myself, and Kelly, we've talked about this. I worked with a dietitian a couple years ago and found out I have some allergies or sensitivities or whatever. So I don't do dairy and I don't do gluten. And I eliminated caffeine for a while to kind of experiment with different things, and it eliminated a lot of stuff. And I noticed like inflammation wise, this is whatever, but if I have more than 2 drinks, my nose gets stuffy and I feel like inflamed or whatever. And so it's just interesting. I know, Kelly, you were saying you had like a food sensitivity and you'll notice like your knees hurt or whatever, if you have that certain thing.
For a period of time.
So I think
is that more recent, or did you always have that? Or you just realized it recently that it...
I ate a lot of mushrooms over Thanksgiving, and I was like my knees were hurting. Yes.
And I'm
sensitive to mushrooms.
Yeah, you took like the food sensitivity test.
Yeah, I think it's like inflammation, but it's like one area that I noticed just that I was like, I don't have my knees don't hurt anymore.
I think
I'm not eating mushrooms.
One of the things that we really encourage at Chasing Brighter is to know yourself and tap into yourself. And I think that too is what you're talking about, Jenny. Like if someone comes in and it's like, I'm not saying, what I'm hearing you say is that you don't subscribe to like, you have to eat this whole way. It's like, let me look at the Jessica plan and let me look at the Kelly plan and know, what's best for you. Like, and I think it's like when we tap into ourselves and know like, hey, if I have a lot of alcohol, I don't sleep well. Right. I feel like crap the next day, what's the common denominator, why I'm feeling groggy or why I don't feel well. And I think, for sure, alcohol can play a part. Kelly and I did a 2-part episode on why we sleep, and alcohol and caffeine were like the top ones that we were talking about. Like, wow, right? Like something that impacts your sleep, and impacting your sleep is a really big deal. There's so much fallout from not sleeping well, increase in car accidents, right? Like there's just increase in accidents, like increase in depression, increase in suicidal ideation, increase in anxiety, all from not sleeping well. So it's a really big deal if we're drinking and it's impacting our sleep, right? Because sleep is so important. And I feel like I just went on some random tangent, but
but it's like basically a cycle, right? One thing cycles into the next. Yeah. But it's like one thing leads to another. It's all one big cycle. It's like the less sleep you get, the poorer you eat, the more you want to drink, the more caffeine you need. It's like you got to like back it up and start from the fresh. But
I think though that like the whole drinking and alcohol thing is becoming more of a thing where people are doing like there's always dry January.
Everyone's doing dry January.
You guys, this is my first time hearing dry January.
Really?
Where have I been?
Everyone's doing it now.
Dude, well in Chicago it's a thing.
It's a thing because everybody drinks too much here.
Yeah.
But like then what happens is then they go right back to drinking. That's where I get kind of like, okay, can we just make it just a better long-term lifestyle? Like, what can we figure out a plan that's more long-term? Like you drink less, only if it's a special occasion you can drink more or whatever it is. But you're right. That is very individual. Some people it works, certain things are fine for them and then others are not. And certain diets work for them. And like, I wouldn't say like some people, I wouldn't have everybody on gluten-free, dairy-free, but some people, they feel better on it. There's less inflammation. So then that works for them. But I wouldn't put everybody on gluten-free, dairy-free. You know what I mean? So I think that's what people kind of think. They just want to like, what diet do you want me to put? Should I follow? Let me look it up and see what's Jennifer Aniston is doing or whatever, and it's very individual, not just like behavioral, but like just physically too.
What about one of the things is like families, right? So in some ways, if you're doing this all on your own, it's great. And I remember doing this when I took your clean eating class, even the first time or the second or the third, I'm not sure. But when it's like I'm doing the meal planning for the week with all the ingredients. And then I'm like, oh, the kids aren't going to eat that one. So I'm going to have to make them something else. And like trying to how do you get other members of your family kind of involved or on board with kind of evolving their eating habits?
Yeah. I mean, that's hard. I don't even I was thinking about, cause you had asked me a question about like quick things to eat quick dinners with kids and stuff. And I'm like, I tend to make a lot of the same things because my daughter only likes these vegetables and this way. Yeah. And I was just telling her the other day, like, we need to start doing some more different stuff and you're just going to have to try it. And I want to be able to like travel and not have to worry about what you're going to eat if they have fries and chicken tenders everywhere we go. It's like kind of gross. So, I mean, there's definitely like things that I know she's going to eat that I could try to add things into. Like if I want to try a new vegetable, make it with something that she's already used to eating but I definitely think there's like that you're a short order cook type of thing if you have multiple kids or family members that want something different. And like, you kind of just have to stop that, right? I mean, it's because they're going to do whatever. If you're going to make it for them, then why won't they
Eventually they'll
eat that, right? But if he would help, right? I mean, if they're hungry enough, right, they'll eat anything, hopefully. But I do think that it is important to try some different stuff. So that's also a goal of mine, and I need to start doing too, because we're busy, and like, who has time to be like, oh, let me make some new fancy recipe and see if my kid will eat it, So, I'm hoping,
How do you do that?
I was just going to say thank you for sharing that, because it's like, oh, she probably just like, they eat carrots all the time. And
oh yeah, my
like,
kid's
no,
perfect.
your daughter's having chicken strips. Okay, there we go. Like you're normal.
You don't even want to
like
know
the rest of us.
My husband, who just walked in, when he eats, he's like, it was perfect timing that he walked in. No, it's hard to balance everything out for sure. But I try to do like at least some staples and rotate around. And I think variety is a good thing to have too. A lot of it is behavioral and, mental, and you have to be ready. Just like anything, right? So
yeah, well, like you said, it's like being a therapist. There's so much emotions attached to it. Or like you talked about shame. There's shame attached to it because people are hiding from you because they don't want you to ask what they had for breakfast.
And I hate that. I kind of hate that because
I bet.
I want. It's really not what I say. I don't say like you have to eat perfectly. In fact, I tell people. Some people I have to tell them they have to cheat, because if they don't, they're going to end up falling off the wagon. But I want. Like you should see, I mean, I eat all sorts of stuff on the weekends and when I go out to eat and stuff. So it's the balance, and that's why you move, and that's why you go and you exercise. And
so so I did put, I think when I was talking to you about, with my sister, so Jess, you go to like the middle of nowhere on an Indian reservation for a softball tournament, right? And there's like nothing around you. We were trying this extreme example.
No, I was just talking to I was talking to my girlfriend because her daughter's doing cheer competition now, and now she's struggling with what I struggle with, which is like, how do you eat well? And it's like I've tried where I've tried to pack everything and meal prep and bring everything there, but then you're at, like, let's say I brought stuff that we could reheat or something, but then you're at the ball time until midnight that night, or you know what I mean? Or then, and it's like where there's literally like Taco Bell or, McDonald's, like legit middle of nowhere tournament. And that is something where I'm still trouble because I don't like to always have bars, but I'll bring like a bar.
You don't want to have more than one bar a day. Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, what can you do? If you have any insight, right, when you're traveling and
you bring some like camping stuff and just cook it like at a campsite.
No,
I've
never tried those meals.
I would think like you kind of have to do what you have to do. So if you have to eat at Taco Bell, there are some choices at these places, but the thing is that sometimes the low calorie choice leaves you overeating later, right? So if like you go and I don't even know, but like if you have a McDonald's salad, for example, but it's only like 300 calories, and now you're hungry in an hour or two, and you end up overeating anyway, you're better off probably having something more solid. I always try to bring snacks. So, sometimes I'll bring like peanut butter, like make my own peanut butter and jelly with whole grain bread and stuff, or like bring a smoothie and just have stuff so that in between, so you're not starving when you get to wherever you need to go. If you have to go to like a fast food place. So that way then like, now you're trying to make up for lost time that you didn't eat, right? And it's really hard when you have an athlete that's trying to eat well, and do good for their sport, but there's nothing to eat, right?
But isn't that funny? Just side note, as a mom, I have her covered with like everything, but also she doesn't like to. So for my daughter, she doesn't like to eat during a tournament. I don't know how she's alive, but if it's bam, 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 we'll give her a good breakfast, but then.
She won't
like in between. I'll do grapes. She'll do grapes, and I can get her to do like a string cheese or like a cheese. But she's like, she doesn't want to eat during any of the stuff. But I like the idea. I mean, what I'm hearing you say, because I think what I do is there are no good options. And so I wait. And then you're right. Then you're starving, and then I overeat. So it's like if I would bring some things, prepare then if you have to eat at the Taco Bell or whatever, you're just,
You can get something smaller or something a little healthier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I do. I'll try to I always make a smoothie. I'll bring like a bar, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then at least I know. And then if you don't eat it, you can eat it the next day. I mean, it's non-perishable, so it's fine.
What does, for you, Jenny, when you say peanut butter and jelly, what does that actually mean for you? How do you?
No Skippy or Jiffy, like real peanut butter.
Okay.
Like
Laura's Gutters. That one where you have to like turn it and there's oil in it.
You could do that, or I like just. Oh, I don't know if they have them where you are, but like where the machines that just grind the nuts.
Yeah.
Into peanut butter.
I think
that's got a good like texture to it. You don't have to refrigerate it, so I like to bring that. And then just like some whole grain bread, Dave's Killer bread, or some Ezekiel bread, and some just real jelly that's made with real sugar, not sugar-free jelly, because I'm not a big fan of sugar-free. I'd rather eat real sugar because fake sugar is processed, right? So. And I'll just bring one of those just to have, because I know that I'll probably be hungry before everybody else. I feel like it's better to eat more often. Well, you have to be careful because some people come with me and they're snacking all day, and that's not good. But like, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, as opposed to like skip breakfast, lunch, big dinner, or snack dinner, whatever it is, because you end up eating, if you have too many calories at one time or too much food at one time, it's all just going to sit right in the belly area because your body's working so hard to digest all of that at one time. So it's better to eat more frequently. You don't want to eat too frequently to where it's now you're just grazing all day, but you want to, I would say, every about 4 hours or so.
And in a mindful, it sounds like what you're talking about, like mindfully.
Yeah, it's like, be like, boom, it's 3:00. Let me set my alarm. It's snack time, as opposed to it being like, you didn't eat lunch, so now you're having a snack at 3 and 4 and 5. It's like you had lunch at noon, snack at 3, So there's like a schedule to it. Okay. I mean, I've been like, it's a joke with the people that work at Midtown still, because I've been there for so long. Like, I've been bringing my lunch since day one for 16 years. And it's very similar. I changed it a little bit, but it's a salad of some sort and some avocado or something like that. And it's like here's Jenny with her lunch again. But like, I think that keeps me on a schedule. And I've been kind of the same weight for a long time because I've just been eating the same. I'll always have that lunch because I hate skipping. Because then if you skip, that feeling of like, you'll never catch up. Like it's 4:00 and you should have eaten lunch. And now you tried to eat dinner, but you could eat 10 dinners because it's too late. So it's always good to kind of stay ahead of it.
I started eating breakfast. I started eating a healthy breakfast in the new year. And I noticed a huge difference because I had been getting to a point where I was like skipping breakfast more frequently. And
have I taught you nothing? No, just kidding.
Well, I fell off the wagon. But I did notice I got some Ezekiel English muffins. Those are so delicious.
Yeah, with some peanut butter or
yes. I put like a poached egg and spinach on it actually. But
that sounds good.
I forgot how delicious those were. And it's actually really hard to find clean English muffins because I had bought something that was whole wheat and then I looked at the ingredients and it was just a bunch of junk.
You really have to look at the ingredient label. You can't look at the front. The front is tricking you into thinking it's because they can say it's whole grain and then if it has whole wheat flour in there somewhere, but then a bunch of other stuff, then they can say it's whole wheat. So you really need to kind of be your own investigator and look at the ingredient labels.
And so what about, some of our listeners are from all over the US. So what advice do you have for them in terms of, working with a dietitian, or how can they find somebody to work with if they wanted to kind of get some guidance?
So you can go to the American Dietetic Association website. It's called eatright.org. And that you can literally go in there and say, find a dietitian and where you're at, what specialties you're looking for. So all of that, it can break it down completely and get you on the right path. Not every dietitian is on there, but you can definitely even just Google. But I'm obviously biased to registered dietitians, but if you put in registered dietitian where you are, it'll definitely pop up because there's definitely in every part of the country, the world. So, and some do specialize in other things, but you can always, at least maybe they could refer you as well. So
cool. And then would you say, you've been in this field a long time, so you're an expert, and you've seen people come and go. Fads, you are.
Thank you.
Own it, yes.
You are. And you've seen people come and go, or you've seen, a 22-year-old come in the gym and take a 2-day course and they're out there giving advice. What are some red flags, right? So you are looking for a dietitian or you're not really sure and you go with someone. What might be some red flags for people?
Red flags is just anything extreme. So if you see someone on Instagram saying, I was watching some doctor actually, telling people that they should eat all organ meats. That's it. Like no vegetables, no grains, or like just certain vegetables, but all organ meat. And it's just like,
I've seen those.
So even
by the way, I just want to throw up right now.
Yeah. And even like, that's a professional. So you're right. Like it may not be that it's just a nutritionist that got a 2-day certificate. It might actually be a dietitian telling you to do something extreme. I mean, there are definitely dietitians and doctors that put you on the keto diet. And I think like, some people it might work for them. I mean, the keto diet was really for children that have seizures, because if they follow a really high fat diet, it helps decrease their risk of seizures. But I mean, if you're just trying to lose weight and you're trying to live in a realistic world, it's just not a realistic diet plan. So I think anything that's too extreme, and then I always think it's a red flag when you see shakes as your meals. So, those like Beachbody smoothie shakes, or like the Arbonne shakes, I hate to drop names, but like shakes that you're having for breakfast and lunch, and then have a sensible dinner. But it's just not you're going to have shakes the rest of your life? Probably not, right? I mean, it's probably a kickstart, but when I look at those shakes, you look at the ingredients and it's got anything. People always ask me about protein shakes, and I'm like, I haven't found one protein shake that's already, in a package that doesn't have crap in it. I would rather you make your own shake. I'm not against protein powders as long as they're clean, but make it yourself. Make a smoothie with like real ingredients in it, and then put the protein powder in, or have water in the protein powder, or milk in the protein powder. But just the ones that the core power, the ones that are already in a container ready to go. If something has 20 plus grams of protein and it's in a drink format, how is that possible?
It's a gimmick,
right? Without having some sort of ingredient. So, or just like same thing with bars. I mean, they probably won't have more than like maybe 10 to 12, maybe 14 grams of protein max in one bar, because it's coming from nuts and seeds, and maybe they put a little protein powder in there, but a lot of times it's just packaged crap. So if it seems too good to be true, red flag, like they're guaranteeing weight loss in a short amount of time, or they're trying to get you to do something extreme. Or they're saying all you have to do is drink these drinks and starve yourself, basically, then it'll work. So, and they do work, but they're just not
long term.
It's some sort of healthy lifestyle that sets you up for long-term success.
Yeah.
But even though we don't want to hear it and we want to do something fast, that's really the best way to go.
Again, listening to yourself, right? Listening to your gut. And we're looking for something, like you're saying, a lifestyle, and something that's maintainable and sustainable. And if you love shakes and want to have shakes every meal for indefinitely.
Or like you can make your own, make a smoothie then with real ingredients. Don't have like one that's made in a package. Like, I mean, but those are obviously the easy way out, right? I mean, how easy is it? This is why they work, because it's just give me a shake. I don't have to be tempted by food. Just give me that shake and I'll drink it, instead of thinking about what I'm going to make, every day. It's a lot of work to eat healthy. It really is.
Yeah. I don't like to drink my meals. That doesn't work for me. And my 8-year-old, I made him an ice cream shake for the first time, like that I made it for him, and I made an ice cream shake. And what he doesn't know is I stuck some collagen. I stuck some powdered collagen in there. He doesn't know, but then I can pretend like, it's got collagen. Yeah. But later he was like, I'm starving. And I was like, you just like you just had a shake or whatever. And he was like, oh, Mom, you drink a shake. He was like, that's not food. And it was just really funny. Like that he was like, hello.
Like he knows.
And that was funny. But yeah, then it's kind of like you have to think about that. Yeah, like adults, hello.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like there's the whole body image thing and just what kids are learning about nutrition is scary. I've had a few kids come to me, like 14, 15-year-olds that they're eating only chicken breast because they saw that on TikTok, or they're worried about gaining weight, so they're not eating enough, or they're having 40 grams of protein powder at one time. It's like, so it's very messed up. So if we're confused, imagine what our kids are, right? So
there's too much information that they're coming across. And I am grateful that at least for my oldest, who's 14, she's got the message from me. Like she doesn't, like there are good fats. Like she has avocado toast and an egg for breakfast. And she likes good fats. And I haven't had any issues with her talking about dieting or fat free, or that's just watch what she has to eat. And I always just tell them, I thank goodness I came across a book. Kelly, I know you read the same book. We were reading all these books when we were first time moms, but just on feeding on demand. And so I had read something that like children are intuitively eat and babies intuitively eat. And then they get to school and we're like, breakfast is at 7, lunch is at 12, dinner's at 5, and how we mess up their intuitive eating. And I was like, that really struck a chord with me. And so I've always just let my kids eat when they're hungry, like if you're hungry, eat something and not make like a lot of rules about it. And I see it paying off with my oldest just intuitively eating. And so she's not going to be messed up. You guys all have the fat
dinner at the same time, 90s. Right? You guys all have dinner at the same time, right?
No,
my daughter's like, I don't want to have dinner until 10 o'clock at night.
Well, no. But it's like, we're not the clean plate club. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really hungry tonight, Mom. Okay. You know what I mean? I don't care. Don't eat, you'll know. And then, for us, because we're all over the place with sports, they might eat dinner at 3. Yeah. Let's say I make dinner and she eats it on the way to practice at 3. At 8 o'clock after practice, she's like, I'm still hungry. I don't say, you had dinner at 3. There's no more food for you. I'm like, okay, well, let's think of something we can have. If they're like, I'm starving, sometimes my 8-year-old will say, okay, well, let's make a healthy choice. He'll have an apple with peanut butter, or something like, but if they're saying I'm hungry, you're not like, well, you already had dinner. Tough. It's like, you're like, okay, well, let's find something.
Yeah, it sounds like they have a good sense of what. Yeah,
not their mother. I'm still reprogramming and deprogramming. And like you said, the 90s were a toxic time.
We've been through a lot.
Well, I mean, I don't know too, because you grow up, like there was no information like this. Like we ate whatever. When I drank a lot of Mountain Dew and chick sticks.
Ooh, yeah. And like remember
a lot of different
Crystal
things.
Light? Ugh, I used to drink so much Crystal Light because I was like, I can have as much as I want.
Remember that like snack?
I know what you're saying. It was like 0 calories. There was a time, and I definitely had an eating disorder. I do know that at this time. But I was like, if it was fat free and 0 calories, like you're saying, like soda, and
there was a bunch of brands of things.
It was
that
fat
was like
free
everything. Fig Newtons.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a
like
weird
diet soda
time.
Yes.
Yeah, and just
right. Like it didn't have calories or something.
That's weird, right? Isn't that
you could
weird?
eat the whole box.
For something to not have calories.
Why would we think that's okay? Like, why do you think that was a good idea? I don't know.
And then
why is everybody? But it's kind of like, why is everybody eating just organ meat? I mean, why is that a good idea?
Yeah, like too much of anything, right?
We're too much as stupid as we were.
Yeah, too much.
Exactly.
And they're saying like, can't you isn't there something? I don't want to spread information, but you can have too much water. Weren't those people like getting sick or something happening? You could even have too much water. Right.
Yeah, so for sure. Like, you can have too much vegetables, for sure.
Yes.
No, it is. It's true. You definitely can. So I think
it's an ever-changing field in some way.
Yeah.
It is.
But Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it was a good chat.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yes. Yeah, definitely always more to talk about in this area. So you have, if anyone's listening and is from Chicago and is
A member
of Midtown.
You can
Definitely
do my
join your class.
But I can also do nutrition outside of Midtown, and I can do virtuals. I can do in Chicago, obviously.
We'll put
anywhere,
we'll put your link in the notes too.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
Just so we can send some folks your way. Changed how I live and eat, and so I'm hopefully this discussion will inspire others to learn more as well.
Thanks for listening and joining us today.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at Chasing Brighter or on our blog, chasingbrighter.com.